Rick mentioned that back in 2018, we ran on what we're talking about today. And we wouldn't be honest to the people that elected us to come here. I had 8 pages of prepared remarks. This is something I've talked about so often. I'm going to cover some new terrain to make it relatable to the citizens across this country of how this place works and how it's so different from how anything else works. Few of us come from the world of accountability, the business world, where you don't have the luxury of doing what we do here in the federal government. And listen to this closely, because this is what most citizens don't understand. We are given the revenues here in this place, and our only job, number one, should be to not spend more than what we're given. We don't do that. We borrow 23% roughly of what we spend. Try taking that to your banker running a business. See if you'd get a loan doing that. That's just a real simple way to look how we do this year after year. On Main Street, whether you're running a business, whether it's your household, I served in state government for 3 years. We were smart enough to have a balanced budget amendment. We believed in things like a rainy day fund. It was in our DNA, we didn't have to think about it, that in the long run, you're not going to succeed if you spend more than what you take in. Coming out of World War II was the highest level of national debt we ever had, roughly where we are now. That generation, we know what they went through. They were savers, they were investors. And not only in government, we are now spenders and consumers. You'd think that in the biggest business in the world, we spend about $4.5 trillion a year. We take in maybe about 3.5. Of course, in a year like this, you had a pandemic, added another 3 trillion or so to the national debt. And structurally, we will be marching over the next 5 to 7 years to where that goes to 1.5 trillion a year. Start adding all that up. Here's what's going to happen. When we're in a position like we are now, where you can borrow money for nearly nothing, we're the only reserve currency in the world that allows us to do it, that doesn't mean you should do it, because we're piling up obligations on our kids and our grandkids, and we might as well admit it. And how we have evolved to get to where we are now, I don't think that's as much an issue as we know where we are now. It is not sustainable. Here's what's going to happen. 2 of the most important programs we've got that everybody likes, Social Security, Medicare. Medicare has been around since the mid-'60s. All of us have been paying into it, employers and employees. Every penny will be exhausted out of the trust fund. And that was about 5 to 5.5 years. Now it's advanced due to our current financial situation to maybe 4 or 5. What happens? This will be the first reality, the shock that comes to the American public, especially elderly, that depend on Medicare for their health care. 18% across the board cuts. Think the static and the uproar we'll hear then. But we can stop it if we just have a little discipline. That is mostly about embracing something like I put forward, the Fair Care Act, which is the most comprehensive addressing of health care costs in this country. And as a CEO from Main Street and CEOs across the country, small business owners, the biggest problem we deal with is the high cost of health care. Of course, we here protect a healthcare industry that's broken, and you got another side that wants to get more government involved And really all it takes there is to have transparency, competition, have a consumer that's engaged in his or her own well-being, and you'd have prices cascade down. Those are tough decisions. You take on 3 of the 4 biggest lobbies in the country: pharma, hospitals, insurance. That's another thing that doesn't make this place work. Social Security, we got some time there, but that was crafted back when lifespans were a lot shorter than what they are now. We knew that actuarially. It's been coming at us for years. We've got until maybe 2032 or 33, been paying into that since the Great Depression. Every penny out of the trust fund will be gone. I think you get the picture. When I came here, Senator Johnson from Wisconsin, Senator Scott from Florida, a few fiscal conservatives like Senator Lee and a few others that will weigh in on this, talk about what's uncomfortable. Well, to me, we've had all this time and we've not done nothing about it. We've got the perfect opportunity. We know we're in the current dynamic, and we know we'll have to get through it. But what we're here today is to get a vote on a simple bill that says do not shut the government down when we're trying to get through these issues. Put a little bit of rigor and discipline into the process with the no budget, no pay, and then maybe we can get to the point where we give the American public a better product. We give them a product that, imagine, if everything was given to you in terms of your revenues, first of all, don't spend more than what you take in. When you've got a year to do something, start on day 1. That's the way it works in the real world. That's the way it works in a household. That's the way it worked on a school board that I served on for 10 years. And that's the way it works in a place like Indiana that balances its budget every year, has a rainy day fund, and lives responsibly. I yield the floor.